Hare Krishna, very nice to be in all of your association again today. So thank you all for joining this morning, very auspicious day of Pandava Nirjala Ekadasi. So let us start with our prayers. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशसारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so today we start chapter 3. And chapter 3, what is chapter 3 entitled? Can someone put in the chat box? Karma Yoga. Yes, Sri Hari Prabhu. Thank you very much. So chapter 3 is entitled Karma Yoga. Okay, so now as we start chapter 3, let us look at the connection between chapters 2 and 3. Do you hear a lot of background sounds?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, just a second. Just give me a few seconds. Hare Krishna. Okay. Yes. So the link between chapters 2 and 3. Okay. So if we just revise back and look at the 49th sloka of chapter 2, Krishna said, Durena hyavaram karma, buddhi yoga dhananjaya. So the meaning of this is Krishna tells Arjuna, keep all abominable activities away by doing buddhi yoga, by performing buddhi yoga. Keep all abominable activities away. So Arjuna's understanding is that engaging in war is abominable. Okay. So Arjuna is thinking, okay, Krishna said by using intelligence, we should keep all abominable activities away. So I should not fight. But still, Krishna is asking me to fight. So why is Krishna giving me two contradictory instructions? So Arjuna wants clarity. And that's why Arjuna starts asking Krishna some questions at the beginning of this chapter. And that's how the entire chapter of Karma Yoga unfolds. So chapter 3 is entitled Karma Yoga. So now let's look at the first chapter, the first shloka in chapter 3. Okay, I'll just share the screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so here's the shloka. Arjuna, I hope you all can see the screen.
Yes,
Are you
Mataji.
able to see? Yes. Okay. Let's recite. Arjuna uvacha. Arjuna uvacha. Jayasi chet karmanaste. Jayasi chet karmanaste. Matha buddhir janardana. Matha buddhir janardana. Tat kim karmani gore mam. tat kim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi Keshava. Niyojayasi Keshava. Arjuna said, O Janardhan, O Keshava, why do you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work? So, like we discussed, right? Arjuna is a little confused. Krishna said, Durena Hyavaram Krishna, right? Keep all abominable activities away by using your intelligence. So, Arjuna is thinking the war is abominable, right? Okay. So, translation, O Janardana, again, O Keshava, why do you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare if you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work? Okay. So, now let's see what how Krishna clarifies. So, let's try to get some insight as to why Arjuna is asking this question. Okay. So, Prabhupada says, if we read the purport, Arjuna also thought of Krishna consciousness as buddhi yoga or intelligence in spiritual advancement of knowledge, as something like retirement from active life and the practice of penance and austerity at a secluded place. Okay, so this is a very great misunderstanding that many of us have. We think that we can retire from active life and go somewhere quiet. This is a misconception. If this was the case, Krishna would not have encouraged Arjuna to fight or do his duty, right? So this is a very similar thought process that the people of this world have, right? As soon as someone starts practicing bhakti yoga, the practitioner himself starts feeling that he should give up everything and go to a secluded place. Okay. So Prabhupada writes further in the purport. Sometimes Krishna conscious is misunderstood to be inertia, and one with such a misunderstanding often withdraws to a secluded place to become fully Krishna conscious by chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna. So this happens actually to new people. Okay, we feel okay now suddenly I've come into contact and everything is so nice in Krishna consciousness, and I've learned this process. Someone has taught me that I can chant Hare Krishna on my beads and be happy. So let me retire. These responsibilities are difficult. Let me retire, stop everything, and be fully Krishna conscious. But then we have to understand, Prabhupada says, right, in this purport, without being trained in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, it is not advisable to chant the holy name of Krishna in a secluded place where one may acquire only cheap adoration from the innocent public. Because the public people think that, this person has secluded himself, so he must be a great person. He has renounced everything, right? But Prabhupada says if we are not trained, this can be very dangerous. We need training to practice Krishna consciousness. We cannot go off by ourselves and try and practice. Why? Why do we need training? Because we have been through many, many, many lifetimes. And what have we done in all these lifetimes? These lifetimes, we have primarily focused on sense gratification. Okay? When we are doing sense gratification, many impressions are left on our mind, right? These impressions will keep popping up every now and then because we feel nice thinking about them. We've engaged when we've eaten something nice, for example, right? We've tasted something nice. We always remember how nice that thing tastes, right? Similarly, any sense gratificatory activity that we may have performed, those impressions will form in our mind and they'll keep coming back. Okay, because we would have gotten some temporary pleasure from those activities at that time, right? From those objects or activities. So those experiences are stored. And when we go to a secluded place, all those impressions will keep replaying. Okay, so instead of chanting, the person will go back to his own life movie and watch and relish and think and find opportunities to engage in those activities again. Like, when we watch movies or dramas, serials and all these things, right, the impressions of those stories and character, they stick to our mind and we remember them. right? And then sometimes they affect our consciousness. So in the same way, any sense gratificatory activity that we perform, could be watching movies or anything else, right? So that those impressions stay in our mind. So that's why Srila Prabhupada says that when a person is not trained and then tries to sit alone, what will happen? He will start thinking of, actually Prabhupada says very specifically in his classes, the person will start thinking of wine and women. Very difficult to think of Krishna when we are alone like that. Okay? It's not possible with an unrefined and untrained mind. So that's why it's important for us to engage in active service in the temple, at home, okay, when we try to speak about Krishna, preach about Krishna to the public, when we help people understand Krishna conscious philosophy, right? These are all active services. Okay, when we come in the association of devotees and do service, cooking, cleaning, and distributing books, for example, so that is very powerful. Okay, active service is very important because these active services can form new impressions in our mind, right? And these new impressions will replace those previous sense gratificatory impressions. So in Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada says, secluded place doesn't mean a lonely place where there's no one. Secluded place means a place filled with devotees, material seclusion, right? But you can fill a secluded place means seclusion from material life, but you can still we should still associate with devotees. We should go to a place. Secluded place basically means a place filled with devotees. That's what we have to know here. It's a myth to think that without devotees we can practice devotional service or advance in Krishna consciousness. Okay, so here it seems as though Arjuna wanted to skillfully avoid fighting by using Krishna consciousness as an excuse, right? So we can see there are many of us on this planet, we may be lazy. Okay, once we start practicing Krishna consciousness, we think, oh, this is so nice. And all these responsibilities that I have, they are too much. They are not related to Krishna. Let me leave everything and go somewhere where I can nicely practice Krishna consciousness. Okay, so those who are irresponsible like this is called irresponsibility, right? Krishna does not entertain this. Krishna says we have to do our prescribed duties. Okay, so when a person practices bhakti sincerely, that person actually is able to skillfully manage their duties, their day-to-day activities, including their sadhana. Okay, it's not about giving up responsibility and relaxing. So Arjuna is requesting clarification in this verse, right? What clarification is he requesting again? He's saying, if intelligence is better than fruitive activity, why engage me in this ghastly warfare? Okay. So as a sincere student, what did Arjuna do? He placed the matter before his master and he questioned Krishna as to his best course of action. Prabhupada writes this sentence in the purport. Okay. So in spiritual life, dear devotees, we are trying to understand something which is transcendental. Sometimes it's not easy because something which is transcendental means it's beyond the perception of our material senses. Right? So when we try to understand something which is transcendental and beyond us, we will have many doubts. Okay, so when we have many doubts, what is important to do? It is important to seek a spiritual masters, and clarify. Arjuna is clarifying here. He's not speculating by saying, so that means if Krishna is saying Buddhi Yoga means I should not fight. Okay, let me not fight. If Krishna would have stopped speaking the Bhagavad Gita, then maybe Arjuna would not have fought. Right? So Arjuna is clarifying. He's not just taking the meaning, taking a meaning that he intends. He clarifies, he inquires. And Krishna, being merciful, will clarify his doubts. Okay, so Arjuna is trying to clarify. And now in the second shloka, he continues to start to try and clarify. So let's look at the second shloka. Sloka number 2. Okay, so you can see sloka number 2 now on the screen. Yes, no, maybe. Can you see
Yes,
shloka number
Mataji.
2? Okay, thank you, Mataji. Okay, so let's read, let's recite. व्यामिश्रेणेव वाक्येन व्यामिश्रेणेव वाक्येन बुद्धिं मोहयसीव मे बुद्धिं मोहयसीव मे तदेकं वद निश्चित्य तदेकं वद निश्चित्य येन श्रेयोऽहमाप्नुयाम् येन श्रेयोऽहमाप्नुयाम्. Okay. Vyamishrena equivocal. And then you see here, ekam vada, only one. Please tell. Only one, please tell a certainty. Okay, so let's read the translation by Srila Prabhupada. My intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be most beneficial for me. So Arjuna is telling Krishna, please tell me for certain, nishchitya, tad ekam vadha nishchitya. Please tell for certain, I'm confused, right? So let's see what Prabhupada says about this verse. Okay. So in the previous chapter, right, Arjuna is telling Krishna. If we see in the previous chapter, Krishna spoke many things. Chapter 2 is like contents of the Gita summarized. Everything was spoken, right? So Arjuna is telling Krishna, Krishna, you spoke many things. Now I'm confused. I don't know what to do. Please clarify for me, right? What is best for me? So Prabhupada is writing in the purport. In the previous chapter, many different paths were explained, such as Sankhya Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, control of the senses by intelligence, work without fruitive desire, and the position of the neophyte. We spoke about neophyte versus Sthita Prajna. So many things Krishna spoke in the second chapter. So all these things were discussed. And after hearing all these, Arjuna becomes a little bewildered. He feels it's like not systematically presented. So Arjuna is basically telling Krishna, please tell me systematically. Okay. So Arjuna, Prabhupada writes, Arjuna therefore wanted to clear up these apparently confusing matters so that any common man would accept them without misinterpretation. Okay, so whenever there is some complex subject matter, because Krishna spoke about many things, so it may seem a bit complex to some people. So whenever there is some complex subject matter, everyone wants to give their opinion as to what it could mean, right? Whatever is given in Shastra should be accepted as it is. That we know. That's why Prabhupada wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is. So Arjuna didn't want anyone to misinterpret Krishna's complex explanations. So Arjuna wanted Krishna to give a clear-cut statement that people can follow without ambiguity. That's why Arjuna is clarifying. Okay. And Krishna also had no intention to confuse Arjuna. Okay. So but Arjuna somehow becomes bewildered because Arjuna is hearing on behalf of us, right? So he's asking questions that can clear the path of Krishna consciousness for all students, for everyone in the future who wants to understand the mystery of the Bhagavad Gita. This is from Prabhupada's purport. So the key thing to understand here is Arjuna is asking these questions for who? For us, right? Because people, we already feel that the Bhagavad Gita is so complex, right? That's why we're all here every morning. So Arjuna is compassionate on all the fallen souls like us. So he's asking Krishna, please tell me, please clarify. You see the whole conversation, right? All the 18 chapters, Arjuna inquires, he clarifies on behalf of us, right? And this we have already discussed before. Okay, Bhagavad Gita is not for Arjuna. Arjuna is a stalwart, he's a fixed up devotee, he's a close associate of the Lord. Okay, we need this philosophy to enhance and enrich our life and attain the ultimate perfection. Okay, and because of that, Arjuna X, completely bewildered, he asks Krishna questions and Krishna answers very, very nicely. So just see how merciful the Lord is and how merciful the devotees of the Lord are. On our behalf, he's thinking of all of us and asking these questions so that we could have this wonderful, beautiful book today, the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Okay, they do this so we can learn and enhance our understanding. Okay, so after Arjuna seeks clarification, Krishna is again going to speak. Krishna is now going to unfold the mystery of Karma Yoga. So let us hear more tomorrow what Krishna says about Karma Yoga. So thank you all for joining. Today is this most wonderful day of Pandava Nirjala Ekadasi. We also want to bring to your attention, some of you would have seen in case you're following the health updates of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. So Maharaj is one of the senior leaders in our movement, and he's really not keeping very well at all now. Yesterday evening, basically Thursday morning in the US, which was Thursday night for us, he suffered a very significant setback in health. In fact, his breathing completely stopped, and then somehow they managed to revive him. Now his parameters are looking better. But during this very, very critical time, we request all of you to please chant and also pray. This is a very auspicious day. All of you are very sincere devotees. So, if possible, we can request the Lord that if the Lord so desires, the Lord can help Maharaj to recover quickly so we can have Maharaj's association for the years to come. Okay, so thank you all very, very much, dear devotees. And so we hope to see you all again every day in the morning in this forum. Thank you very much for joining us. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Sri Hari Prabhu, Kalyani Mataji. Hare Krishna, Girivaradhari Prabhu, and
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.